Welcome to the first instalment of the BGBI podcast. This is something we wanted to try for a while. We hope you guys really enjoy this. We wanted to introduce something that brings our love of cars, our love of stories, our love of everything into one place, and really try and emphasize this in the podcast format. So just a quick breakdown of how these podcast episodes work. This will be the first one, of course. So we have a main element in the podcast throughout called Dark Side of the Road. This will focus on stories around cars or any kind of interesting story we pull together and think will fit directly into our channel and they'll fit nicely. So we bring in just an introduction to start off with, what we've been up to, Dark Side of the Road, and then also have a beer review at the end. Hopefully you guys can join in and have some fun with as well. So, Luke, do you want to introduce both of us, who we are, what we do?
Well, this is my co-star here, Oscar White, and I am Luke, Billy Gross. And like Oscar said, we are all about cars, we're all about beers, we're all about gears, and we're all about bad ideas. And I think this podcast is something that will bring all those three things together with the beer element at the end and a bit of car stories before that. So, yeah, what have we been up to then?
So something I wanted to bring to the forefront of the conversation, and this is happening as we record this. This will go out at a much later date, so I apologise for may not being as topical with the current scenario. But as we're recording this, SpaceX have publicised their IPO aiming for the 12th of June. If you love engines like I do, I bring this love into SpaceX. It's just such a fascinating company, such a fascinating story. And where this can go is absolutely unbelievable. And we will say anything we say about this will not be financial advice whatsoever.
That's the crucial point.
Yeah, that's most definitely the crucial point. But it's just something we both look into, we're both really interested in, just from our love of engines and engineering in general. I mean, you as an engineer yourself, you know you love this kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, this is really interesting. $135 a share, $1.77 trillion valuation. I mean, can you wrap your head around that as an IPO? It's a world's first.
It's a lot of hype. A lot of
hype. But really excited to see where this goes. Really excited for the journey of SpaceX itself. We just want to see, can we get to Mars? Can we in our lifetime? I think that'd be pretty damn nice if we could see that happen.
And maybe the IPO is one step towards that, because I guess with all the hype built behind it, the capital that can bring to the table.
Yeah.
What would Musk do with that? I mean, he's the kind of guy that will probably, I don't know, have a bit of fun with it, but at the same time, that fun might bring progress. So I think there's good things ahead.
Oh, we all know money makes the world go round. So I think this can be done. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that you've seen recently that you want to bring into, or are you just excited about the SpaceX IPO as I am?
I'm excited about the space. I mean, to be fair, that's the kind of thing that it's a big IPO, so it's like that's what's going on at the moment. There's other bits and bobs going on, but we'll leave those for other podcasts. So feel free to join in on any others. But yeah, the discussion today is on the IPO for now. But yeah,
cool. And so, should we segue into our main element?
We shall. This is what we're here for.
Dark Side of the Road. So this story was something that I found extremely fascinating when researching. It's something that I hadn't heard about. This is quite a bit before our time. I mean, it was before our parents' time as well. Actually, going into that, because our parents were just
when's going back to
70s. So just a bit before our parents' time.
Generation behind, yeah.
But this was a landmark car in terms of how well publicized the negative impact of it was. I'm going to introduce the Ford Pinto scandal. Now, I don't know if you heard of this, Luke. Have you heard of this before?
I haven't. I mean, obviously I've heard of Ford, and I've heard of scandal, but I've not heard of the Ford Pinto scandal.
We know Ford, we know Pintos, and we know scandals. But the Ford Pinto scandal, this is crazy. This is one of the craziest automotive stories I've heard. I mean, I'm sure we're going to delve into a lot more on the podcast, but
let's delve in. Let's have a look.
So I just wanted to introduce key people first. So we go through. We just want to give a little format, a little structure into some of the key people we'll be going into in the story. So firstly is Lee Iacocca. He was a Ford president, previously the vice president of Ford, and he was a champion of the Pinto. Henry Ford II, He was the CEO, obviously.
We
I
know
about
who
Ford.
he is. Yeah.
He greenlit the Ford Pinto project at this time. Mark Dowie, who was a journalist who broke the Pinto story. Lily Gray, she was a 1972 Pinto driver who was rear-ended in a collision and unfortunately killed. We'll get onto that in the stories. Richard Grimshaw was Lily Gray's passenger. He was also in the car at the time, who suffered severe burns from the accident. Also introducing the Ulrich sisters, alongside their cousin Donna. So they have Judy, Lynn, and their cousin Donna. These were all killed rear-ended by a van, and that van driver happened to be Robert Duggar, who was the driver of that van that killed the sisters and their cousin. And then finally, Michael Constantino. He was a prosecutor who brought the landmark case against Ford during this era. This is a big law story as well. It's a ton of bit of law into it.
Yeah, this is everything. Yeah.
So let's dive into it. The Pinto backstory, the birth of the Pinto. The competing pressure was massive against Ford. This is a time of development. This is a time of trial and error. This is, bringing everything together. They're facing massive pressure from the Volkswagen Beetle, from JDM Imports.
Oh, right, yeah.
These smaller sized cars that were just, taking a large share of the market capitalization at the time. Ford, you can't let this slide. You need a champion of your own. You really need to bring out something. Flagship small vehicle. So what does Ford do? They greenlit the Ford Pinto project.
There we go. That's their answer.
So let's bring this a little further. Lee Iacocca, the president at the time of Ford Motor Company, he was ambitious. He wanted to follow a 222 goal for the car's production, under £2,000 in weight, under $2,000 in price, and in under 2 years. Now, we both know
that's quite tight.
Construction fields, engineering fields, that is very tight. That is extremely.
I mean,
ambitious.
obviously, of the time, $2,000 or pounds, whatever, would be a lot more back then than it is now. You could not do.
No, that would be ridiculous. I mean, so you'd be driving a cardboard box, really.
But still, that's still tight by their standards.
It was an extremely ambitious product, extremely ambitious. And this kind of foreshadows what's to come, because you can't let that slide. The standard production time at this time for a car of this size, of this scale, was double. So 2 years is ridiculous. Now, the car was initially well received. I mean, who doesn't get excited by new cars in an era where it wasn't crammed with Chinese EVs like we are currently? This is the time when people get excited about a combustion engine, about a car. Something that's new, something that's fresh, something that's interesting. But there was a dark side to this. Trying to achieve ambitious results in a short period of time, safety, performance, it's impacted. It's bound to be.
You're cutting corners to get it out on time.
It's cutting too many corners, some may say, and you'll find out. You'll find out. So, diving into the next act, the design decision. Now, of course, there's going to be design flaws when you're designing a vehicle in this space, in this time. I mean, this is ridiculous. And the design flaw that came out of this one, and this is fatal. The fuel tank placement, it ended up placed 5 inches behind the rear bumper.
Ooh,
with no protective.
Far back.
Yeah, 5 inches behind the rear bumper.
So it'd be more further back than that, really.
You think so? The main bodywork directly in front of the bumper and behind the rear axle. This is inches. Of space. I mean, surely you think, just on general physics, something goes into the back of you, that fuel tank's going to burst.
That's the first thing to get impacted, really. That's where the force is going. So
exactly, and this is what leads us on to the engineers. They had significant testing, and they all indicated the same thing. At speeds as low as 20 to 30 miles an hour.
20.
It would rupture, crumple, smash the fuel tank into bits. But this led to serious managerial decisions as well. Brings us on to the third act, the valuation. Now, this is something I found absolutely dumbfounding. I mean, I've never heard, and I'm not big into automotive design itself. Love cars. Don't know how it's designed, don't know how they value crash testing, and don't know how, risk management is really done around this. It's one of the biggest automotive controversies of all time. The valuation of a human life.
Yeah.
Okay. interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
How do they go about that? How do they value it? So they ran a cost-benefit analysis on adding a bladder around the fuel tank so that it protect it in any kind of incident, in any kind of crumple damage. This would significantly reduce the damage if they were to add this at the time. It would come to about $11, and that's around 12.5 million vehicles. So total would be around $137 million. Then they ran another analysis. The cost of doing nothing, absolutely nothing at all. What would happen if they just left it and people, crashed and burned? They ran numbers based on the following outcomes. Each dollar value is the total of settling a lawsuit. So they valued a human life at $200,000.
$200,000
Yeah.
for a human life.
That's based on how much a lawsuit would cost if someone sued them, if their partner, parent, etc. died in the accident. That's how much they valued it at. So they estimated 180 deaths at $200,000 a lawsuit, 180 injuries at $67,000 a lawsuit, and 2,100 burned cars at $700 insurance premiums.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's important to remember the $200,000 figure wasn't invented by Ford. This came from the NHTSA, which is a US safety regulator. So they're placing the number on the human life. And Ford just, take it and run with it. They kind of, this is how much it's going to be if we were to be sued and someone's killed. If you're totaling all of those features together, the cost of doing nothing is $49.5 million. So you've got the cost of adding bladder to every car, $137 million, or doing nothing, $49.5 million. Can you guess which decision they made at the time?
Well, I can only imagine in a place like Ford where money moves, they'd just go for the easier option.
I mean, it's a saving of like $88 million. So saving money wins every time.
That's the way to go.
As a company, you kind of doing that. You reject the idea of maybe this does have some significant real world impacts. I mean, we can't say, we're not there. We weren't at Ford at the time. So.
Things like that are just sidelined by the capital, really. If there's an option that brings in more capital, then I guess where's your ethical limit?
Exactly. It's all about ethics. That's what it boils down to at the end of the day. And that brings us on to severe dilemmas, both morally and physically, because you're valuing human life at $200,000, and then also not doing anything, something bad will happen. The engineers' tests, all the crash test data reveals that 20-30 miles an hour, as low as 20-30 miles an hour, it's going to split, it's going to rupture. And that brings us on to the actual physicality, the impact of not doing anything, just letting the cars roll out of production, crank them out, send them off. We're not looking at the lawsuits right now, so let's see how it goes. This brings in some tragic cases of the deaths surrounding this serious engineering flaw. So firstly, introduce Lily Gray and Richard Grimshaw. Just to set the scene a little bit, 1972, driving down a freeway. You must feel pretty happy, 1972, the car came out in 1971. You got a brand new car.
Brand new car, yeah.
But suddenly, you stall. So the story goes. You stall while merging. This would be routine in many aspects. Who doesn't stall their car? We all stall our car sometimes, unless you're a professional driver. Even then, they might stall their car. But this time, it wasn't routine. They were rear-ended on the freeway. Fuel tank ruptured. The car caught fire almost instantly.
Because of the fuel tank.
Because of the fuel tank. After suffering tragically, Gray died of her burn injuries. Sources differ on this. Some say few hours, some say days. So we won't kind of say what, but this was a tragic suffering. Richard Grimshaw, 13 years old at the time, suffered severe life-changing burns from this incident. But this wasn't the only tragedy he suffered at the hands of the Ford Pinto. There were many, many more, but the one I want to bring in as well is another tragic case. The Ulrich sisters, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ulrich. It was 1978, driving yellow 1973 Ford Pinto on the way to a volleyball game. Ulrich sisters, Judy, 18 years old, Lynn, 16, and their cousin Donna were driving on Highway 33 near Indiana. Again, highway. I don't believe they were going very fast at the time. They were suspected to slow down to check a gas cap or to tighten a loose gas cap. So they were checking whether it had fallen off or whether it was still on the vehicle. As the story goes, is what we could find when researching. During the maneuver, a Chevrolet van failed to notice them slowing down, and allegedly he was picking up a cigarette in the vehicle. This is allegedly. And hit the Pinto at around 40 to 50 miles an hour. Rear-ended the Pinto at 40 to 50 miles an hour. So this is double the speed that they would have shown at the time that the fuel tank could rupture. The eyewitnesses also put the vehicle around 40 to 45 miles an hour, with the Pinto still rolling at about 30 to 35. So obviously slowing down, some traffic congestion or whatever may be in the road. The car immediately burst into flames.
Yep.
Lynn and Donna died at the scene, trapped inside. Judy was pulled out alive from the driver's seat, but died hours later in hospital. An eyewitness quote, and I'll say this, I'll read this directly from here. A witness said the Pinto blew up like a napalm bomb.
So instantaneous rupture, boom into flames.
Bang, straight into flames. Now, obviously, the car introduced 1971. These cases happened years after development, years after they knew. It really brings it together, really puts some emphasis on this. They knew that the tank would rupture.
Yeah.
And these are just two of the estimated around 180 to 500 deaths that they put in here as well. Now, moving on to the reckoning. It's people waking up. Most things in the due course of time can be dealt justice. But no money is ever enough to cover the death of a loved one. I'm sure we can both agree on that.
Yeah.
To add to this, discontent had been brewing in the world of journalism for some time. Now, going back to the key figure that I brought in at the start, journalist Mark Dowie. He started to do some digging into the Pinto. This started just before the tragic case of the Ulrich sisters. And in 1977, he released a piece in the journal called Mother Jones magazine. This piece was titled Pinto Madness. Okay? So you can kind of see where this is going. You're alluding to the fact of this. Allegedly, he had gotten hold of documents from Ford that were leaked, including the memo on a cost of human life. And as a journalist, this is a field day.
Yeah, bringing that back.
Bringing that company down, whatever profits you can, smearing them is what it is. He's no spin doctor. He is smearing them. So he called the Pinto a death trap and a fire trap. He condemned them for placing a price on human life. And also, if you link this back to Fight Club, the film, in there, I believe they talk about a similar sort of thing where they're putting a price on human life. I'm not a big Fight Club film. I couldn't recite it inside and out, but I thought that was a good point to implement as well. It's the whole point of irony and, double personalities.
Well, it's a kind of like a... people don't really want to talk about lives in that kind of manner, do they? So... But in these instances where it's almost like a decision between whether they have option 1 or option 2, save lives or do nothing. You've kind of got to have that thought of, but is there a value to it? Or it's something that you should really think about. But
yeah, no, it is, and you would think like that. But we're not shelling out $137 million for it, so we don't know. The article was a hit. And a year later, with the Ulrich deaths, the wheels fell off the Ford trolley. And that brings us into Act 6, the lawsuits surrounding this entire era.
It's coming back to them now.
It's coming back. It's coming back to haunt them. I mean, at the time, this is mega money. This is a lot of money that's flying around.
Yeah.
So to set the scene, the deaths, the expose in the Mother Jones magazine culminated in a vast discontent. And people wanted to hear answers from Ford. They've got the human life cost. It's expose, people dying.
All those family members want to know answers.
Exactly. So this brings us to the first case, and I'm going to read off the sheet here because this has got some facts and figures that I don't want to mess up. 1978, Grimshaw versus Ford. So Robert Grimshaw, the small 13-year-old child at the time, brings the case to Ford. Richard Grimshaw and the family of Lily Gray sue Ford. The jury awarded Grimshaw $2.5 million in compensatory damages, and the Gray family $559,000. On top of that, the jury hit Ford with $125 million in punitive damages awarded to Grimshaw, a record at the time. But the trial judge reduced those punitive awards to $3.5 million on appeal, but the reputation damage was done.
Yeah.
Court also denied throwing out punitive damages entirely, finding that Ford knowingly endangered lives of thousands of Pinto owners. So there is some reparations coming back to Grimshaw. I mean, nothing would ever be enough, especially for the family of Lily Gray and also Grimshaw, for the, everything that's suffered. You've got the deaths, you've got the severe burns, you've got the PTSD.
Yeah.
Nothing would ever be enough. But it was nice to know they got some sort of reparation out of this. For me personally, I think.
Yeah. At least some corrective action.
Yeah, correct.
Some correction.
Yeah.
At least some correction to protect future drivers. Say if they brought out another car, at least there's that kind of loop back system of making it safe next time. So I think that's what they'd be looking for.
I mean, it's all building on, building up to the modern car. You've got these safety features not fly now. This probably informed the law around cars globally that get manufactured.
I think people then took it seriously from this point onwards, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, everything adds to it, doesn't it? It all adds to the culmination of proper safety features around all vehicles.
Yeah.
And the second case, State of Indiana versus Ford Motor Company. This was a landmark case at the time. It was the first time in US history a corporation was charged with criminal homicide. So you can imagine, as a prospective lawyer looking for cases, God, what better one is there to be the first one? So Ford faced 3 counts of reckless homicide for the deaths of the Ulrich sisters. Only a year before the trial started, a 1977 Indiana law was passed that allowed for corporations to face criminal prosecution. So just a year before this case was brought, the timing of this, bringing it together, it's a good time for the law to be passed on this aspect. September 1978, grand jury indicts Ford Motor Company. Now, there's something interesting, scary but also slightly amusing at the same time that I wanted to bring in, and you might find this fact quite interesting.
Okay.
So Ford, being obviously a massive, massive company, a giant corporation, have an abundance of money. What does that get you? Right, an army of top-class lawyers.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is a really interesting part. Every motel within a 30-mile radius of the trial was booked up for the entirety of the trial, with all the lawyers coming in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they had to travel in 30 miles because that was the closest inn that they could find.
Yeah, so everywhere was booked up.
Wow.
There's people obviously around it as well, but having an army of lawyers, they've got to stay somewhere. So every motel within a 30-mile radius booked up with lawyers, with journalists, with everyone that you can imagine, which is crazy. I mean, also bringing in, it's kind of a David versus Goliath stat. So you've got Indiana prosecutor, bringing the case against Ford, and they're a team of lawyers. So the prosecutor had a budget of $20,000. Ford's was rumored at $1 million.
Yeah.
So can you even imagine that is a serious David versus Goliath stat? You don't see much of that. Oh, you do see much of that nowadays. It's money. Makes the world go round. But we come to a head in 1980. This is the interesting part. After 25 hours of deliberation, the jury comes to a verdict. They acquit Ford on all charges. He's not being prosecuted.
Yeah.
Now, where does that land you? That's scary. David versus Goliath.
Well,
Goliath wins.
It's the fact that it's almost like the typical outcome. It's the outcome you don't want, but so you go into one of those fights with such a big budget and such a big team of lawyers, you can do the best you can do, but
you're bound to win.
Yeah.
You kind of know you can win.
Yeah.
It's also important to note that the drivers of the two vehicles that went into the back of Lily Gray and also the Ulrich sisters, I believe they weren't prosecuted either, so they wouldn't face any
Yeah.
charges on that. Now, the final act, the conclusion and the recall. After all this, where does this stand us in the early 1980s? Well, after pressure from regulators, the public media, the law, Ford recalled. Well, I'll read this up. They recalled all 1971 to 1976 Pintos, 1.5 million of them in total.
Yeah.
They denied any and all wrongdoing, but despite denying all this, they added the $11 bladder protector around the fuel tank. That's a full circle moment. You know, ignore it at the start, the deaths, the media, the cases, then bring it back to this. The $11 bladder to be put around the fuel tank anyway.
But then not confess any wrongdoing in the meantime.
No wrongdoing.
Even though
no admittance.
they know this whole process start to end.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's time we reflect on the story, bring in some debate points. You know, you've got to have for and against Ford as a case. So I just want you to weigh your opinions and thoughts on this story as a whole. Where's your brain sitting at after hearing that, digesting the information?
So yeah, dumbing down that story, it's between the design of a car and the impacts of that design, isn't it? So it's where they put the fuel tank, but then it's also the lack of. Well, no, you said that they did testing. They did crash testing, didn't
crash testing, and they found speeds as low as 20, 30 miles an hour. The fuel tank was still rupture.
But then it was the reluctance to do anything with that information, really. It was like they kind of did the testing. Or that to me sounds like a failed test. That's this design doesn't work, but still they carried on through the production stages and sent them out to customers.
Well, I suppose as a business, you also have to look at that. I know you can't put a price on human life, but the cost-benefit analysis did weigh up and say, look, you're either spending $137 million or you're spending
to add the bladders in. Yeah. And I guess at the point they were designing the car, they were under those stringent procedures to get the cars out the door quite quickly, wasn't it? Because they had that turnaround and they needed to make it as cheap as possible. So those things were what kind of drove Ford to ignore the testing and send them out the door. So in my opinion, I think like we say, you can't really put that manufacturing procedure, getting them out the door, over the safety of their cars. I think that's where the issue comes in. But at the same time, we have hindsight now, don't we? So it's like if we were to wind back the time before the rollout of the Pintos, no one knows people are going to die.
No, you don't know.
So and Ford didn't know that people were going to die, and they kind of hoped that people wouldn't die.
Yeah, I mean,
but that hope didn't come true.
No, they wouldn't want anyone to die. I mean, who would?
Yeah,
you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that brings us on to a kind of debate as well. Was Ford uniquely evil, or was this kind of industry standard at the time? Were people just rolling them out? Obviously, the safety regulations aren't going to be as stringent, as impactful as they are now as they were back then. Obviously, people were. I mean, I've seen some videos on YouTube. They did like drunk driving tests in the 70s where they had like 5 beers and 8 whiskeys. And people were out driving.
And that's the way they tested it.
It's just how all the cars were. People obviously smoked. There weren't laws about smoking in cars with children, so everyone smoked a cigarette in the car with children. But you know, were they uniquely evil? Was this industry standard? I think it's industry standard at the time. I mean, it's important to factor this in as well. Later analysis argued that the Pinto was about as safe as other vehicles of the same time period.
Oh, right. So even cars that were designed, say, without the fuel tank in the boot, even those were having crash tests at those levels then?
Yeah, so they were having crash tests. It was passed, you know.
Yeah.
If it's passed, every other car has to go through the same procedure. And obviously, there's going to be cars that are safer than others.
Yeah.
But it did pass. And then also, it brings us on to the disputed death toll. So there isn't an official stat for this, but I've got it written down here of where it was estimated. So ranged from 27 confirmed to 180, and 180 was Ford's own projection, not a body count. So, actually, this is the kind of comments people bring. Well, actually, it was safe. 27 people died. This was XYZ expected of XYZ era.
Yeah.
Or it could even be lower. I mean, who knows? If they got 27 confirmed and that's ranging over 10 years, that's not a lot.
Yeah. And I guess you got to factor in the fact that it was a hot car at the time. There was how many sold? It was in the millions, wasn't it?
Millions, yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of skews the percentage of fatalities of the cars sold, sort of thing. So in essence, I mean, obviously, it is still one human dead's one too many, but it's because of how common the car is. It's almost like you could argue that Ford Fiestas and VW Polos have the most fatalities, but they also sell the most cars. So it's like
they go to the youngest drivers who are more accident.
There you go. I mean, we did have a story of an 18-year-old driver and 16-year-old volleyball game.
Yeah.
So that one, they're young in a new car, that kind of thing. I mean, there's cliches with young people in new cars.
Oh, obviously, all the time.
But yeah, it's like the fact that you've got young people in cars and stuff like that. So yeah, there's lots of angles to come at this, isn't there?
It's so easy to dissect it from every angle, and you've got data to back both ends of the spectrum. So you're kind of stuck in that kind of House of Commons, well, sir, he's chuntering over there, sir, kind of debate.
Nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing I want to ask you as well is, with the acquittal, with the being acquitted on the case, do you think justice was done? Do you think now, knowing some of these facts and figures, do you believe justice was done at the time?
I'm going to say yes. I think it came to a just conclusion, because a good way to go about these issues is to have recalls on cars. To kind of, I mean, in essence, you're kind of saying free upgrade to people who bring their cars in, and that, or it might have been compulsory. If you've got one of those, it might not be road legal if it hasn't got the bladder on, but I don't know how you police that. But
being acquitted over the Ulrich sister, the Indiana state, I don't know. I find it a very hard question to answer. As you say, the recalls were obviously beneficial for every other road user. I mean, we don't know how many deaths that saved by having all those recalls.
Yeah, because and that's the hindsight, isn't it? We could have hindsight of how many more would to be killed if they didn't add the bladders back in, but we don't know that, and there's significantly less now that they have. So
no, exactly. And then just a few more things I wanted to ask you. I've got these written down here. Some debate points that we have on here. The cost-benefit analysis on human life, still common practice. Where is the line drawn? You know, is human life worth £1 billion GBP?
You just can't, can you? You just can't.
You just can't. But there needs to be a number for safety companies to say, well, if you were to face a lawsuit over a death in a car, it would be £2.5 million.
Yeah, I guess as a business, you'd come at it at a purely mathematical kind of format instead of a ethical, you can't put money on a person sort of thing. They're thinking purely about the maths, kind of stripping the emotion away from it, and instead going, right, how much does it cost us as a company if X was to happen? So I think that's the kind of way to go about it. And in that essence, yeah, you could maybe in different circumstances put numbers to it, but you bring ethics to the table, and that's
hard, very
a lot of issues come up very quickly.
Questions, exactly. And then the final point is, Lee Iacocca is now an American business hero. He's written books. He saved Chrysler. Does this new information about when he championed the Pinto at the time change his legacy, change his image?
I mean, having his name on the scandal as a whole, I think that probably does some bad to him, doesn't it? It changes his kind of, well, it shows the way he goes about things, really. He's kind of quick to get things out the door. And yes, it might have been typical at the time of that standard, but I mean, it takes common sense. to realise that 20-mile-an-hour crash is not that big of a crash.
Yeah, no, that's true. But then also you got to bring into Henry Ford II green light in the project in the first place.
I mean,
etc.
I mean, you can assume lots of things, but I imagine Henry Ford himself, well, the second, would kind of be the guy, the big boss, the gaffer, the CEO, breathing down your neck trying to get this car out. You're going to get
You
that
want
car
it
out, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to lose your job. You don't want to lose your reputation.
So
I mean,
it might not have been on him.
Exactly.
but-
As we know now, he's an American business hero. He's saved Chrysler. I mean,
He's good at his job, but
he's good
there's-
somewhere. Does it
there's
change the
certain things you
image?
can do.
Does it
so-
change the image? It's also important to note that anything we speak about here as well,
yeah.
just as we wrap it up, is of course our own opinions. If there's anything you need to be corrected on, just drop it in the comments, drop it at whatever podcast platform you're on. We read all the comments. Read all the comments all the time.
This is purely just like a pub chat. At
This
most.
this is interesting stories, unique debates, different standpoints.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to bring to it. That's the Ford Pinto. Pinto story. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh.
I'll tell you what, to be fair, before this, I hadn't really heard about the Pinto.
Neither.
I don't know, did you? No?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. Which is
So
really interesting.
It must be a thing because of that time, they had Ford Fiestas. I mean, the Mark 1, Mark 2 was around in the 80s sort of thing. So it's almost like Ford dropped that name and dropped the whole history of that car to modern day like it never happened sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it is. It's like we don't know much about it, do we?
Well, for the sake that it was the flagship car at the time,
Yeah.
the common car, because it was going against the Beetle.
Everyone knows the Beetle. Imports. Yeah. It's such a unique story.
So that was the story on the Ford Pinto. That was a good story, to be fair. I mean, like I said, never really heard about that much, and until you delve deep into these things, you realise the inner workings and how things go on, even maybe to modern day. Maybe there's scandals going on at the moment.
You just don't know.
You just
don't know. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Also, just want to bring in a quick mention now. So we're going to have a beer segment at the end of every show. For those that don't drink, for personal reasons, physical reasons, religious reasons, we'll put this at the end. So if you want to skip to the next episode now, skip now. So any viewers that want to stay on, have a beer with us.
Nice treat at the end.
Feel free to. Lucas?
Well, if you're leaving now, thank you for watching. And if you want to have a look, we've got other socials around. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on other things. YouTube.
Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, a load of bits and bobs. Check us out on email if you really want to, if you're old school.
Just drop us a line. Drop us a quick line.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be appreciated. Thank you very much. But now I think we'll get onto the beer.
Cool.
You join us enjoying the lovely Korev?
The Korev.
The Korev.
Cornish lager.
Today's beer is the Korev. Have you had this before?
I don't believe I've ever had a Korev before.
Haven't you?
That's kind of a unique. It's quite a
You don't really see them on the shelves, do you?
low genuinely beer.
Yeah. From Cornwall. 4.8. Lager.
Best before.
Best before. I mean, I picked this one because it's been in the cupboard for quite a while and I haven't had it. The best before, filming as of the 9th of June 2026. Best before end, September 2025.
It's almost a year past its best before.
So we're reviewing a partially gone off Korev.
This may not be an accurate depiction of how lovely or how grotesque this beer might be.
First we start with a crack. You always got to start with a crack.
Oh, that's a pretty good crack. That's a pretty good crack.
I mean, that sounds alright. That sounds like a beer. Then we go with a pour.
That's a pretty good pour.
Good colour.
That's a very
Nice and light.
that's a spectacular colour
you
for a
want-
beer.
Can or glass?
I'll go can, mate. You have the
Can.
fancy.
Oh, I'll stay
You have the
glassy. Yeah.
fancy. Stay glassy.
Stay glassy.
Ready when you are?
There's a lot of foam, but that's probably my pouring more than anything.
For a tipple.
Yeah.
Cheers to the first tipple of the Coro.
Right, let's see how this goes.
Pleasantly surprised.
There's a lot of flavour in there for how light it looks.
How out of date. For how out of date that is, I think that's actually really good beer. I could see myself having a lot of those.
Quite a lot of flavour in that, to be fair. I expected. I mean, it is 4.8. 4.8%. So, yeah, it would be on the heavier side, but yeah, I give that a solid. Because I'd say it's above your standards. You've got your standard beers. I'd put that slightly above that. So
rating out of 10. If we had to give it a rating out of 10 right now, what would you give that?
I'd give it a solid 7.
Yeah, I think
There's room above that.
I think 7.25 for me. 7.25.
7.25.
Yeah, because it's up there. I feel like obviously 5 being the median, 7 being the result everybody gives for something that they find average. I'll put it at 7.25 for me personally.
Yeah, just inching it that little bit further up.
Just inching it a little bit better.
I mean, we've got nowhere to base it. Is this the only
This is
one?
the first one. This is
so
the first one.
We'll see where other beers stack up, but I mean, starting off strong. Okay, I might enjoy the rest of that gone off beer, to be fair.
The first episode beer, Svakaruni. Thank you guys for joining us in the beer lounge. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you enjoyed the beer review. And we'll see you guys very, very shortly in the next episode.
Bon voyage.